Happy New Year, Parker.
What's going on? It's been a minute since I've seen your face, and in 2022, I do not have a new accent. I don't know why I'm talking like this, but Happy New Year to you as well. We're into 2022, Sam. How's that feel?
Sounds futuristic. Sounds weird. Sounds strange. But
it's like one of those.
I guess I get used to it. I don't know.
Movie titles that your parents watched growing up, like 2022, and like the movie has like robots flying and just running the world, and literally we're here now, and robots are still probably running the world. We just don't know it yet,
dude. 1 year closer to year 3000 by Jonas Brothers. That's all I'm counting down to.
It's a good tune. Probably my favorite tune by Jonas Brothers. It was the only tune that I feel like I was able to play in a car with my friends, and everyone else was like, yeah, this is a jam. Other Jonas Brothers songs is like, dude, Jonas Brothers, really?
Not a jam. But this is a jam. No, it's good, man. It's 2022. Crazy that we're here. What a year it's been. Looking like this year is going to be another very interesting one for the history books. But I wish everyone in Elevation Nation, especially you, Parker, a happy and healthy 2022. And speaking of New Year's, a topic that everyone seems to ask Parker and myself about 2022 is, well, Sam, Parker, what are your New Year's resolutions this year? You guys preach mental fortitude. You preach mindset. You preach growing up as a young adult. Well, what are on your goals for 2022? And so we decided that we wanted to make a show, our Fortitude in 15, to start off the year all about New Year's resolutions, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
New Year's resolutions. I feel like everyone makes them. And by January 10th, people forget that they made a resolution to themselves. Sam, I mean, you remember at our, when we spoke at the University of Maryland last year, it was like January 28th. Our main first slide was, do you remember New Year's resolutions? And everyone was like, yeah. But how are those coming? How are those coming? That's always what we go through. It's a new year. It always feels like it's a new me. I can be a new person. You know what, Sam? You and I both know, in reality, you're going to be the same person that you were 5 days ago. But what's great about the new year, and something that we preach and talk about, is that you have a new opportunity not to be a new person, but to dive a little bit deeper into who you are and where you want to go. And now is the perfect time to start elevating yourself towards wherever you want to go.
I think, ironically enough, I have not made any New Year's resolutions for 2022. I've been out of town. I've been traveling. I've been with family. I've been with friends. And I just haven't sat down and really given it the attention that it deserves. But I read something interesting the other day in Morning Brew, so I want to give them credit, all about New Year's resolutions. And I actually saw something today on the Matcha Monday podcast, a little bit similar to this as well, all about how New Year's resolutions tend to be a little bit skewed, maybe a little bit untrue, perhaps toxic for some people. And instead, they recommended that people focus on not necessarily metrics or specific goals that you want to accomplish, but feelings that you want to achieve. And I thought that was really interesting as we all head into another year in this absurd pandemic, when the world is turning into a even more strange place. I think a lot of times everyone wants to set these goals as if the world will return to normal. And a lot of their goals are tied to normalcy. Unfortunately, that normalcy is outside of our control. So instead of tying your goals to, objectives that are determined by something outside of our control, perhaps it's more intelligent to set your New Year's resolutions to be about how you want to feel in this next 2022 year.
I couldn't agree with you more. It's all about how you want to feel. we've talked about this many, many times, is that if you set a tangible goal for yourself, it's great. It's great. But what happens if you don't fulfill that goal? Are you a failure? Are you maybe just living at January 5th and you haven't reached your goal yet? And you start thinking of yourself again in a way that you were last year, not getting to the goals that you want to get to. I completely agree with what you're saying. It's all about how you feel. It's all about when you go to bed, you wake up, you're like, these are the things I want to do today. Not because it's going to give me some monetary result, not going to give you, maybe it'll give you a physical result. Maybe over time you go to the gym and you do your push-ups, 100 push-ups a day. And you can see that you're starting to get more in shape. But at the end of the day, the thing that really matters the most is that feeling that you're walking around more confident, you're feeling healthy, and you're attaining something that you didn't have before.
Yeah, I totally agree. So I think Elevation Nation, to everyone out there, for our Fortitude in 15 episode this week, yes, making goals for yourself is important. Yes, taking a step back and realizing what you want to do this upcoming year is fantastic. But instead, I challenge you all to take a minute and reflect on this past year. What feelings did you have? How did you feel at certain points in the year? Certain highlights and maybe some certain lowlights. Highlight those, pun intended, highlight again, but make sure to mark those feelings down. And then take those feelings, highlights, and say, how do I want to build upon these or recreate these in 2022? And then the lowlights, how do I want to enhance or improve or learn from some of those negative emotions that you had in 2021? Instead, by tying those to feelings, hopefully you'll be able to achieve them in more realistic ways, because God only knows what direction 2022 is going to end up right now.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, that's the thing with goals and like New Year's resolutions, is that reality sets in. Reality is there to divert us from the thing that we thought we were going to be at. It comes and we forget. I think we did an exercise last year, Sam, that I loved. And I'm going to read it, some of it, the framework of how we did it. It's a great way to set your vision for 2022. Not your goals, it's your vision for 2022. So if you got a piece of paper in front of you, grab a pen. If you don't have a piece of paper, go run, get a pen, bring it together, come wherever you're going. Sit down and write down on your piece of paper in different sections. More of, underline it. Less of, underline it. Habit to quit, underline it. Habit to introduce, underline it. Spend my time, spend less time. Learn how to practice. Personal goals, work goals, and a note to yourself. We did this last year, Sam. And what I did this morning is I read through my 2021 vision. And looking back, a lot of these are feelings. A lot of these are things that actually, looking back on my year, I lived by. And it's that accountability, that aspect of writing these things down and coming back and looking at it, like, dang, this is a new habit I wanted to introduce, and I did it. This is something I wanted to spend less time doing. And maybe I did spend less time, or maybe I spent more time doing that thing. But now I'm going back and doing this again, Sam, and I'm like, dang, what did I learn, and how can I reframe my vision?
What were some of those, Parker? I'm curious.
What were some of the ones that
you wrote down in 2021?
I mean, yeah. I wrote this on January 1. Let's see. More of, cognizant of daily routine, love, breathing, exercise, doing what I want. Less of wasting time, less of spending money, self-doubt, making it all about me. Those are kind of feelings. Habits to quit, procrastination, eating poorly, not speaking up. Habit to introduce, writing ideas down. I did that by writing on Twitter. Reading more. Reading at least one point during the day. Calling loved ones more often. Meditation. Walking around more. Spend my time enjoying life, having conversations, loving my girlfriend. These are all things I wrote down. I'm like, dang, like looking back, it's like, okay, all right. Some of my personal goals, run a marathon. At that time, I had no idea I was going to run a marathon. Ran a marathon. Make a certain amount of money that I wanted to make. Hit that. Like, there's so many things here. You look back, it's just like crazy. Because at the end of the day, was I really reading this all the time? No. But I wrote it down and I made it real. And that's the biggest thing with these goals. You got to make it real. Because that's a start to hold you accountable.
Another great point. So with your New Year's resolutions for 2022, make them real and attach them to feelings. I think this goes back with resolutions. It's a little bit contradictory because Parker and I have preached SMART goals, and I think there's a time and place for SMART goals when you're really getting tactical about the tangible details for things you want to accomplish. So don't get me wrong, those are important. But I think with setting such broad, big goals with a lot of pressure that comes with New Year's resolutions, it's more strategic to do them in a way that makes them a little bit more attainable to hit. And I think by tying those to feelings and emotions, you'll be able to hopefully hit those a little bit easier instead of getting burned out or run out by, missing your goals or your metrics when they're SMART, time boxed and set to a certain number or amount of something. So
what do you mean? What's an example of one that you can attach to a feeling?
Yeah, and this is kind of how I've written my morning affirmations that I read every day. Instead of saying, I want to work out for an hour every day, instead I say, I want to feel physically and mentally healthy, strong, and confident. Those are the feelings I want. Whether that is me ripping out 250 push-ups because that's all I had time for, or whether that's me picking up a new activity such as martial arts, or been playing a lot of pickleball lately, or going to the gym, right? It's not tied to a specific attribute such as number of push-ups or amount of time working out. It's tied to how I feel. And I believe by doing that, it allows you to be more flexible, again, because I think we're all going to need to learn to be a little bit more flexible this upcoming year, again. But it also allows it to be a bit more attainable as well. And you can reach those goals day one, January 1st. Whereas if you set out a goal, I want to be able to do 300 push-ups by the end of the year, you every day are missing that goal. You might be working towards it, but it sucks when you're missing it every day. Whereas instead, if you flip that on its head and tie it to an emotion or a feeling, you can achieve, check that box, and hit that every single effing day of the new year.
It's repeatable. That's the big thing. It's repeatable. When we think about goals, it's something that you just check, and then it's like, okay, now what? Yeah, I ran a marathon, and I literally said, okay, now what? But I didn't run the marathon just to run the marathon across the line and say, okay, that was done. No, I ran the marathon because of the feeling of gratification of finishing a race. But how many times did I finish a really long run in practicing before that? A lot. And I got a lot of gratification from that too. So I couldn't agree with that, Sam, more. I mean, that is such an awesome way to go about it. And I feel like it's not something that people talk about as much because it's like, oh, I'm going to attach my goals to feelings. Like, what's a feeling? I can't even see it. But I think, and I know you think, and Morning Brew thinks, that if you attach your goals to some feelings, you'll be hitting some goals every single day.
Love it. And with that, that brings us to our first Parker's perspective of 2022. Parks, you got a good quote to start off our year strong?
I like this one. Okay. This quote was said by Sydney Harris. Don't know Sydney, but she must be a pretty cool person because she's a quote on Google. So, Sydney once said, "Happiness is a direction, not a place." Think about that for a second. Happiness is a direction, not a place. If your goal is to be happy, we all want to be happy. And there's a lot of things that we put together to get ourselves to think that we'd be happy. Just continue to remind yourself there ain't no place to go, a physical place to go that's going to get you happy. It's the emotions and the feelings that you carry and feel every given day that keep you on that direction of happiness. So just keep that in mind as you go into your day tomorrow, this week, next week, and hopefully we're having this conversation again in 2023, and you've elevated yourself to reach even more goals. But Sam, this was fun.
With that, Elevation Nation, happy 2022. Looking forward to giving you guys a ton more interesting, unique ways to elevate yourself, your mindset, your emotional intelligence, and help young adults conquer their 20s. Till next time, peace.